Hello, and it's Paula here from Ignition Radio, and this morning I have the supreme pleasure of interviewing Mark Brzezicki from Big Country, who I am a huge fan of. Good morning, Mark.
Oh, good morning, Paula.
How are you today?
Very well on a gloomy Tuesday.
Yeah, it's a very gloomy Tuesday.
It's gloomy at the moment.
Well, we live in the northeast, it's always gloomy here.
Well, we're brightening things up when we play, that's what happens.
I'm hoping so.
Yeah.
So how has the tour been going so far?
Well, we're on a constant tour, really. You know, we go through, it's different the way we tour now to the way it was back in the 80s and 90s, when you had sort of a major record deal and it was all new and the music industry was different. You know, you had different seasons of touring. You would always do a winter tour. You'd probably take some time off to do some demos in the spring, then you have a summer tour, and so on and so forth. But the way it is at the moment is that we're concentrating on getting the music out there. We've got such a vast catalogue of albums that we've recorded that we're finding that we're playing most weekends all around the country. So all the little places that perhaps we never got to back in the day, we're playing smaller places, which is what happens when you've been in the band a long time. But we're doing more shows. So, and we're celebrating kind of the albums that have been, you know, part of our history. And at the moment we're celebrating like the Stockton release, which was our second album.
Yeah, Stockton. That was 1984?
Yeah, I think it was 84. You know, the timeline, I get confused. It's a long time ago, it's like me going back to school. But no, we celebrated the crossing, that was successful. And now, you know, we're still doing Stockton and our greatest hits as well. So we've got such a vast catalogue to sort of draw upon. I mean, next year we're going to go out and celebrate our album, The Seer, which was a great album as well. So it's a matter of getting out there and playing more so than concentrating too much on another release, as we have so many releases out there and such a big repertoire and collection of work, a body of work to you know, to tap into and to play live, because people that know Big Country, you know, they have their favourites, and sometimes their favourites, we don't play, you know, different albums that were later on in the years, the people's favourites. So we're trying to sort of run through the albums as we celebrate the anniversary of their release, you know, many years later. So.
Well, few bands have such a back catalogue and can do that, because your back catalogue's so amazing. I mean, from the crossing to driving to Damascus, the journey.
Oh, yeah, you know your stuff. Yeah. most people, I find, you know, it's, you know, there's new generations. I've got to also remember there's a lot of generations that haven't heard of Big Country, you know, where they're either their dad's band or something. You know, we're an older band, but we're a great band. We're fantastic live. New bands, you know, they like to come and check us out, and they always like to hear our music, and we like to see young people at our gigs. But you know, some people just think we had one hit, you know, one hit wonder, one single out, one album. But you know, we've had a vast amount of records out over a long period of time, and like you said, yeah, up to Driving to Damascus, you know, that was a fabulous album. And what it does show in those albums, it shows the growth of the band. You know, from us being young in our, you know, in our early 20s to, you know, we're now in our 50s. You know, it's a long time to have a music career, which is great actually, because not many bands can actually do that. You know, most bands it's very fragile being in the band, and most bands don't, particularly these days, live past the first record they release. You know. With us, with the record company, it was definitely an investment into seeing at the old school the way bands would develop and grow and mature, and you can hear that in our recordings. You can hear the development of the band. You can hear Stuart's style of musical influences change, and his lyrical contents change, and the music getting tougher at certain times to reflect what's around musically. So, you know, there's a lovely sort of timeline of growth within Big Country to where we are right now, you know.
It's sort of funny you to describe yourselves as a dad band, almost, because I'm into Big Country because of my dad. When I was a little kid, the only cassette tape that we had in our car was the best of Big Country. Yeah. So my dad and me would drive around blasting that at full blast out of the window. I think it was probably the only 7-year-old to know all of the words to that album.
In case it bombarded you with our music, so I'm sure there's some kids that want to murder us with their parents playing our music so much, you know. But, I'm only joking. But you know, it's wonderful to think that you know, young people, including yourself, that have you know, picked up the music from when we started from the bands. And people discover us as a new band as well. You know, people have never heard of us, and they either try and source us out on vinyl, because we actually go back that far. You know, to, like when U2 were in their early days, to Simple Minds, you know, all those bands were sort of our friends and our other bands that were musically in sympathy with us, you know. And there's a wonderful collection in the 80s. There was great songwriting in the 80s, and I think the songwriting kind of stands the test of time. A lot of songs today, you know, as much as they have the latest sounds or the latest sort of quirkiness to whatever the production is, you can't really sing them. You know, I find it hard to sing a lot of the new songs. There's a lack of melody somewhere. God, I sound like an old fogey. But there is no element of truth in that a lot of people are nostalgic about the 80s. I think what needs to happen, I always wondered about this, is I think 20 years needs to pass before you get really nostalgic about that decade. And once you've got 20 years past, then they can look back with rose-tinted spectacles, and particularly if the songs are catchy, you know, songs are very emotive, and they can, you know, you can have a recall with hearing a song, and you can remember where you were at that time, like you talked about your dad with the cassette player and stuff. You know, they're very, very evocative and emotive music is, and I think people like that. You know, it gives them a feeling of comfort for what, you know, what they used to hear back in the day and whatever, particularly if they can still sing them.
I agree completely. One of the things I love about Big Country is when I listen to songs like Field of Fire or Look Away, it could have been written at any time. It doesn't sound like it's an 80s synth pop band. It sounds just timeless.
Well, in a way, we've been very lucky with you know, songs have been embraced by a big genre of listeners, as in people that like rock like us, people like country that like us, people that like, you know, good musicians like us, people like punk like us. So we cover quite an eclectic style within the musicians within the band. That's what gave it its uniqueness. So much so that certain bands, you know, that have come along still do covers of our songs. I can't name them, but I've seen them on YouTube now and again. These young bands will do In a Big Country or Fields of Fire or Chance, and they still sound fresh, you know, when played as a new band, because, you know, as with music, you know, you can't actually pick it up and hold it. It's only sound waves, so they never really age, you know, and it doesn't deteriorate. It's only the things that play it, like the records deteriorate, but the actual music, they're only notes, you know. They don't know they're old. They're only notes that are still around.
That's a really nice way of putting it.
Yeah, that's it's a bit daft thinking that, but, you know, sometimes I think that you can't. Music is like germ-free, you know, it doesn't come with anything. It's just you can't pick it up. It's just sound waves that happen, and it either moves you, and it becomes memorable, or you know, or you don't like it. But you know, it still sounds fresh, which is great.
Yeah, it's such a great sound. It's like I took my dad to see you in 2011 for his 50th birthday. And I remember, like, the crowd was just a huge, broad range of people, like people my age, younger, people at my dad's age, a bit older, and everyone was just having a fantastic time, jumping, singing along.
Yeah,
it was so energetic.
We do have a lot of energy in our playing and in our music. It's very powerful music, and with that, you know, we do get a lot of moshing going at the front at times, and we like stood-up gigs. Also, you know, we don't mind playing theatres and stuff where you sat down, you have that kind of critique rock listener that you can hear every sort of nuance on stage. But generally, the ones that we're famous for is a stood-up gig, you know, in a good-sized venue with a good PA and a good healthy crowd, and it's always a very, very buoyant atmosphere, and you know, people are always jumping about and enjoying the music. You know, it's very active between the audience and the band. We've always had that kind of communication.
But what would you say is the biggest crowd pleaser that you play, the one that really makes them go crazy?
I think the obvious hits are what people know best. I think perhaps just of recent we've been noticing that, you know, when the crowd really start going, it's normally on Fields of Fire. If you're going to start jumping up and down, you know, I'm very aware of that as a drummer, that I'm curious as to, this sounds daft, but I'm always curious as to, like, the speed of my drumming with the bass drum. Is that the speed somebody can actually jump up and down and land in that same spot? Because it seems to be in that sweet spot, you know. I notice when I look out from a stage at the audience that I'm thinking, you know, the speed of this song is actually coincidentally ideal for jumping up and down. You can actually get up in the air and land with it and not lose any time, which is what seems to happen. It's quite odd, but it's wonderful to see, because we've always had that. And I think Fields of Fire fire kind of ignites that kind of passion in particularly guys that have seen us back in the day, or people that just want to join in the sort of tradition that normally happens in that song. It seems to be like a tradition in that song.
It's definitely one of my favourites. Like, if someone asked me what my favourite big country song was, it'd be very, very hard choosing, but that would be in the top three.
I mean, like I say, we've got such a lot of records to choose from that, we have trouble choosing the set sometimes because, people shout different songs out and we do note it. We don't actually play it, although we could, but we don't just play it. We don't sort of do requests. But we do kind of do them because they will actually appear at some point when enough people sort of, me and Bruce will talk and say, we've had a lot of requests for the Seer, or, whatever, there'll be and we think, well, why don't we do that, And then we normally think, well, if we do that, why don't we celebrate it with the album that was? That's kind of what we're going to do next year with the Seer. So we're kind of holding fire on those songs. We mix the set up a little bit. We change a few of the songs during the set, and we mix them, put in, from across the albums, a few little goodies that, people may not have heard for a while. I think we're going to spring Restless Natives back in there soon, just to keep it fresh. But, it's good. It's good to have that to tap into. And like I say, next year, we're really looking forward to doing the Seer tour, so that would be awesome.
Is there anything that you really hate playing, like something you will always leave off the set list no matter what?
They probably are. I mean, there's songs that were quite obscure that the real hardcore fans really like. But I think there's two things. One is probably that the band would really have to really work out how to play it because we haven't played it for so long and we need to get into rehearsal. That's never a massive problem. But between Bruce and Jamie, they'd have to work out some quite intricate stuff. A lot of certain songs were done in the studio where there's lots of guitar overdubs as well. We did a track called Tall Ships Go, and we did it fantastic live. Bruce and Jamie made a great job of that with the twin guitars. But at the time in the studio, I mean, Stuart and Bruce had put many guitar overdubs to layer that song up. So it was one where they were kind of a little bit like, we wasn't sure how it would actually come together when she stripped it back to the basic band, But at the end of the day, it was amazing. So we can do it, but it's just whether it fits in the set and it has a story to tell within the context of the other songs we're playing. But like I said, we're kind of looking forward to doing those obscure ones as the albums reach their anniversaries to give people something to look forward to and for us to have something to go and learn again. To go and learn our old records.
Is I read that you were supporting Status Quo this year. And you've had like a really big variety of support acts as you've been touring. Is there anyone really you've enjoyed working with in particular?
Well, we're very lucky now and again we get on the support. Status Quo, a great band, classic rock band, British rock band. They're lovely guys as well, and they're friends of ours. I mean, I've supported them with other bands as well. But with Big Country, we seem to be a good match. It's a guitar, a traditional guitar, drums and bass band. It's not keyboard led or anything. Not that I mind that, but it's just what it is. But over the years, we've been very lucky, from supporting U2 back in the day, which was fabulous, seeing them grow with us and then really take off to superstardom. But we did the Boy Tour and a few other tours. And then we supported David Bowie and the Glass Spider Tour. That was great for us because, we were still a new band at that time and we were going down amazing as a support. And we wanted to play with Bowie as well because he's a living legend. And then obviously, probably our highlights we've ever done was supporting Rolling Stones on a couple of tours, Bridges to Babylon tour. What's the other one? I can't remember the other tours. They were huge tours. I mean, we're talking about 250,000 people out in the field over Europe. And with the whole Rolling Stones circus. The infrastructure that it has backstage is like a little village in itself. It was a fascinating, absolutely brilliant tour to do. Their music is awesome anyway. And to meet the guys, those legends, and to have them, become friends of ours through going on stage and meeting them. Charlie Watts is somebody who I adore as a drummer and as a lovely guy as well. So I'm very blessed to being able to have these incredible support positions that we've had over the years. But probably the Rolling Stones is probably the biggest, and
Did you ever get starstruck when you meet these kind of like huge?
Oh, it's a Voodoo Lounge. Sorry, it's a Voodoo Lounge was the other one. Yeah. Did you get starstruck?
Yeah.
I don't so much because at the end of the day, once you see them, you know, when you're working, they're normal, real people at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But you do get starstruck at the thought of it because, yeah, you do in a way. I mean, I'm still a fan of music, you know, that's why I became a drummer. I'm still a fan, you know, as much as people can be fans of the band. I think if anyone's really honest in bands, we still have our heroes and you know, when you meet your heroes and legends like that, it's still as awesome as if you're still a fan, you know.
Yeah.
But the great thing is that they are really nice people at the end of the day, you know. I've always found that the bigger the star, the nicer they are, and I didn't think I would say that.
Yeah.
But that's actually been true so far, you know. Long may it continue.
It's like first thing I did when I found out that I was doing this interview was text my dad and say, "Guess who's getting to interview Big Country? Not you."
Amazing. So you'll be coming to our show, you said?
I will be coming to your show on the 9th of December at the Ark.
I'm looking forward to it. You must come and say hi.
Oh, yeah, thank you. I will. Is that a nice invitation? I will come and say hi and maybe get an autograph if you don't mind.
No, that'd be my pleasure.
Also, I can rub that in my dad's face.
Yeah, that's right. But no, looking forward to it. I mean, we always like playing, you know, our stuff, and I know it's kind of it's on the East Coast, isn't it? It's kind of Newcastle way-ish. Is that way?
Yeah, we're about an hour south from Newcastle.
We've always had a great reception up that neck of the woods. I mean, everywhere we play is great, but you know, we have an affinity for playing up on the East Coast up there. We always have, you know, outside, you know, back in the day when we used to do Barrowlands as our sort of favourite gig. We always loved playing Newcastle, that kind of area on the East Coast down there. So, you know, the crowd are always amazing up there, and they're normally really receptive to our music, and they're pretty tuned into our stuff, and they love the band. So we're looking forward to it. We're looking forward to it.
I've been to gigs like all over the country. I've been in like Nottingham and Manchester and places down south, and no crowd sort of compares to a northeast crowd, I think, when I've been.
Yeah, I think there is something in that. I mean, when we play London, I mean, I'm based around London, so it's kind of a home gig for me, but it's always something that I know is going to be very different from when I play anywhere out in the northeast. If they're a little bit more receptive and enthusiastic is perhaps a polite way to put it. Which is a great thing. They have a lot of spirit of music up there, so we really look forward to coming up there, and we're looking forward to the show.
I'm really looking forward to seeing you. I absolutely cannot wait.
Awesome.
I'm so excited.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it too.
Well, I'd just like to say that, like, because I've been a fan of Big Country for most of my life, just thank you for the music.
You're welcome. It's like, as Bruce would say, we're only doing our job, Mum. You know, that's what we do. We love it. You know, we're very. You know, one thing we do, we've always kept our feet on the ground as a band, and we know that we're doing something that's, you know, in a way, if I'm really honest, it's a paid hobby. I mean, I'm quite humble to say that. And you know, when you're a musician, you want people to like your music, and we've had the joy of having that happen to us. And for people to, you know, to come to our gigs is still very special. You know, and I will say that, you know, when we go out and play on stage, we play with as much enthusiasm as if it was the first gig we've ever done. We're never complacent, and we appreciate that, you know, that we're still around at this time, and people want to come and see us, and, you know, that's very special for us.
Well, I think as long as you keep playing, people will want to come see you, because you're just such a fantastic band, really are.
That's very kind. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Well, I'm looking forward to meeting you, and really hope you enjoy the show.
You'll recognise me by I'll be wearing a very geeky T-shirt, no doubt.
Awesome.
Well, I will see you next week, Matt, and thank you very much for your time today.
Thank you for having me on the radio.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Cheers now. Thank you.